Well, it's fair to assume that this game definitely won't be ending well.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Oh boy, as the situation just got that much more tumultuous, that much more dangerous, as a lot of people were talking about World War III. Again, as there's a new battlefront being laid out with a larger potential economic war that could potentially join Russia and the United States against China. Yep, we're talking about rare earth minerals. I talked to some insiders in the industry about this larger issue, and oh boy, are there some big bombshells to really comprehend and understand here, especially when it comes to securing a lot of these important resources for the future of hegemony on the planet. Again, we're going to get into it, but first of all, so much blowback against Volodymyr Zelensky. There's politicians within Ukraine calling for him to step down. Elon Musk, who, by the way, has been providing Starlink communication devices to Ukraine that has made a huge difference for them on the battlefield, now is openly criticizing Volodymyr for saying, oh, yeah, no peace deal, no raw mineral earth deal, nothing. And he, of course, went back to Ukraine as now he is criticizing these larger kind of PR moves and PR stunts that are, according to a lot of people, distasteful, as his men are being grabbed up on the street and literally sent over to the front lines to fight this larger proxy war that clearly a lot of people want to end. Why isn't it ending? Well, according to Elon Musk, I think he represents this scenario here perfectly with this meme highlighting Zelensky at the railroad tracks. But instead of there being two, there's only one. And there's a sign saying you could stop the tram at any moment, but you refuse because you need guarantees that it won't start moving again in a few years. That's the situation. That's the scenario right now with the train car going over all of the flesh and human bodies of young Slavic men that are being sacrificed in record numbers. Absolutely tragic what is going on here, as Elon Musk has called for peace for a long time now. If you look at the larger peace deal that he propositioned about 2 years ago, he was viciously attacked by the Ukrainians, by the corporate media, by the government, saying, how dare he propose a peace plan here? And when you look at his peace plan here, it would have saved a lot of Ukrainian lives. It would have saved a lot of Ukrainian territory. And if we would have listened to, alternative independent media that has been also calling for the same kind of deal to be made here from day one, deals that have been sabotaged by Western leaders that literally fly into Ukraine as soon as the deals are met and say, no, you're not going to sign this. You're not going to do this. You're going to walk away from the table, even though you just agreed to this. When you have those type of levels of treacherous actions, it really does make you wonder what in the world is going on here, as the world wants peace and all we're getting is kind of arguments and ego and snarky comments. As allegedly there's a lot of people now coming forward and saying that Zelensky called J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, a suka, which isn't the nicest of names to call him. These larger kind of representations of Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines going after representations of Trump and MAGA, shooting it, lighting it on fire, doesn't help the larger situation here, as one of the biggest countries that has been at odds with the United States when it comes to their recent regime kind of implementation of peace deals and talks here. When it comes to the larger shift that just happened here, the UK has been some of the biggest outspoken critics against a larger peace deal here, and that is, of course, why Volodymyr Zelensky went right to the United Kingdom and said, hey, let's go, guys. You guys talked about sending troops on the front lines. Germany was like, no! No. And the British were like, oh, crap, we're kind of in this on our own there, because you are. And this is why Zelensky went right over to the United Kingdom, as the United Kingdom has been one of the biggest proponents of escalating, continuing this larger war. And guess what? They're not as gracious as the United States was under the previous administrations, as they're now offering him, a pesky little small $2.26 billion loan. That's it. The United States gave money for free. All right. Zelensky's like, this is a grant. All the other European countries giving stuff, they're getting it back. They have guarantees. I'll get some money back. Now, the UK, right after this tremendous moment with Trump, with the United States cutting off specific infrastructure that they were sending over to the United Kingdom with their energy grids that just stopped. The UK so graciously offered them a $2.26 billion loan that, of course, they have to pay back and give guarantees to, as NATO gave a big kind of refreshing moment here to Zelensky here, as we have the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, coming out to the president of Ukraine and saying, hey, you got to restore relations with the United States and Donald Trump, because if you don't, it's not looking good for NATO, that a lot of geopolitical experts believe is at its wit's end and could potentially be officially destroyed, as the United States finances a lot of NATO as well in a significant portion that Donald Trump is asking some serious questions about, as now there might be a potential raw mineral deal with Russia. What in the world is going on here? Well, it's a crazy moment. It's a crazy time that we're seeing unfolding here, but it could actually be a strategy that could potentially counter China. Before talking about that, we want to talk about one of our sponsors of today's video, and that is American Tungsten. And I can't believe this ad fell into my lap at this specific time, because I think it's fair to say, after doing a lot of research, the United States definitely has allowed itself to be very ignorant on the need of raw earth minerals. And there's no production mines or of any kind of critical rare earth minerals on U.S. soil. It is 100% imported from other countries. The metal is essentially for military applications. This is gross incompetence. The U.S. imports 27% of its supply from its only formidable enemy, according to a lot of geopolitical experts, China. Tungsten has a very unique characteristics which makes it indispensable in modern industry, technological, and defense applications. As armor-piercing ammunition, you need tungsten as its core material that is in its shells and bullets that penetrates tank armor and reinforces structures. Advanced composite armors used in military vehicles for its ability to absorb kinetic energy for decades. Globalization blinded politicians, allowing China to dominate rare earth mineral mining. There's never been a better time to hold American-based tungsten stock. American Tungsten, USDEMRF ticker, could become the first U.S. tungsten producer after decades of no mining. American Tungsten is today's sponsor. I believe you must research it as soon as possible. The U.S. faces a lot of vulnerabilities as we have rare earth elements that are indispensable in countless industries. China controls a lot of those production mines. 70% of global rare earth elements are produced in China. 85 to 90% of rare earth elements are processed in China. The dominance isn't accidental. For decades, China's strategy invested in mining, refining, and exploring rare earth, undercutting competitors with lower cost, forcing U.S. operations to shut down. Now, the U.S. has only one operational rare earth mine, Mountain Pass, California, but still relies on China for refining. A glaring weakness. It does not mine tungsten. The geopolitical risk is real. In a crisis, China could weaponize its dominance, cutting supply chains. A sudden disruption could cripple U.S. industries. Defense contractors, for instance, depend on rare earth elements for missile systems, jet engines, advanced electronics. Transitioning to domestic production is slow and costly, leaving the U.S. highly exposed. The dependency risk depends on national security crisis of unparalleled magnitude. There are no production tungsten mines on U.S. soil. American Tungsten, code DEMRF, seeks to become the first tungsten production on U.S. soil. The company is advancing in significant North American past production mine in a region with mining, environmental, and regulatory barriers compared to overseas competitors. The flagship asset was once a fifth largest tungsten mine in the United States. The Department of Energy classifies tungsten as critical to national security, clean energy, and high-tech industries. Tungsten has the highest melting point of any metal. It is extremely dense and hard and indispensable for heat resistance, durability, and strength. China has already imposed export bans. Think about potential zero operational U.S. mines, and China controls the market. American Tungsten aims to secure key strategy partnerships and non-dilutive financing with U.S. Department of Defense and Department of Energy. Conduct your own due diligence, and we want to thank them for working with us and specifically sponsoring this video at this extremely very opportune time as all of this is specifically unfolding, as of course Donald Trump specifically just also announced this not so long ago, which I think is of key importance here.
To further return production to the United States, we're going to environmentally free up our rare earth minerals. We have some unbelievable sites. We have some of the best rare earth anywhere in the world, but we're not allowed to use it because the environmentalists got there first. They said, you cannot touch that land. I look at the land. It looks like every other piece of land. What is it? Well, this is very protected. They have no idea what they're doing to our country. They use the environment to stop progress, so we're not going to let that happen.
Yep, and it definitely does look like this is going to be a major strategy of Donald Trump, of our foreign policy, not to be dependent on foreign countries, but to, of course, have our own rare earth minerals that we are able to, of course, advance things like artificial intelligence with, as a lot of geopolitical experts are saying China is having her lunch, and that's why we're seeing Donald Trump emphasize this larger kind of deal here that now Russia might be making with the United States. This is big news. This is huge news, as of course we found out that Zelensky wasn't for this deal and already 2 times said no to it. Originally saying yes and then saying, no, I don't want a rare earth mineral deal. And then saying yes and then no, I don't want it again. So there was a lot of back and forth here until we had this massive blow up inside of the White House, which, of course, was supposed to be the official signing of this rare earth mineral deal, which didn't happen. As now Vladimir Putin is hinting at offering rare earth minerals to the United States, a part of a larger geopolitical economic move, which would probably officially anger China significantly. There definitely hasn't been any kind of love affair between China and Russia historically, even though the two are being brought closer because of the previous old neocon American foreign policy. But now Vladimir Putin kind of speaking in very open ways, saying, yeah, I'm kind of open to an American partnership. The Ukrainians aren't open to it. Well, maybe I am.
Либо предложить и американским нашим партнерам, когда я партнеры говорю, имею в виду.
He's saying, I mean to specifically work with the administration and the government here and private companies. If they show interest in working together, Russia possesses significant, and I want to stress this, significant, larger resources of this kind than Ukraine. Russia is one of the uncontested, when it comes to the rare and rare earth metal resources. We have deposits in the north, in Murmansk, and then the Caucasus, and then the Balkans, and then he goes on specifically saying, you know what? Even the rare earth minerals that are critical that the United States wants out of Ukraine, well, 22 out of the 34 of those minerals are specifically now partly controlled by Russia. And it is old Ukrainian territory that now the Russians have, of course, occupied and taken for themselves. Now, what will be the future of that territory? Well, I think now we're going to have different kind of negotiations at play here, as it looks like Putin could help Donald Trump challenge China's stronghold on these rare earth minerals. Donald Trump, again, is on this larger quest for a very specific reason. What's going to be next here? Well, hopefully it will be the restarting of negotiations. Hopefully cooler minds prevail. Hopefully Zelensky now comes to the negotiation table and says, yeah, let's actually have some peace here. Let's actually negotiate here. Let's actually make some money. Let's work together here, as the Ukrainians have also been working very closely with the Chinese. They have a lot of economic partnerships and ties with them as well. So the situation is obviously very complicated. But right now, with the breakdown of communication, and I've warned about this too, because I said, hey, these are high-level talks. I know Trump's talking a big game here. He promised to end the war here. But if the end doesn't come soon, and if the negotiations fail, this is going to lead to larger escalations, which I still think, it's very possible to happen here domestically inside of the United States. As now Macron is saying, no, it's not Zelensky who is playing with World War III, as accused officially by Donald Trump. And the French president now is saying it's Putin. It's Putin who's playing World War III. Where it looks like, let's be honest here, Putin's trying to make a deal here. And whatever you might think of him, whether you like him or you don't like him here, I I think it's fair to assess, according to a lot of people here, that if we have the prospects of making money, if we have the prospects of building and growing and expanding human civilization rather than blowing itself up, I think that's something that we should strive for. As seeing these kind of larger kind of blow-ups on national television isn't comforting, especially for a lot of the people that are on the front lines right now, sent there by their politicians. Again, a lot of people are saying, hey, there's a big prospect here of this totally getting completely out of control. And let's be honest here, that's the situation that we're living in right now. And it's not a very comfortable situation. How will all of this kind of unfold? How will this kind of proceed? How will this all kind of move forward? It's going to be interesting to see. And again, no one really knows. The situation is extremely volatile. And I wish I had a freaking magic ball where I could see into the future here, because truly I think it's uncertain. I think the Ukrainians will now, understanding the larger severity, I don't know what they're doing here, because they're clearly acting wild. They're clearly going to the United Kingdom right afterwards. The same United Kingdom that threatened to have British troops on the ground there. The British Army and military isn't doing too good, okay? Especially with its proficiency, especially with its larger problems that it's dealing with internally, and with extremely low recruitment numbers, and with equipment that isn't the best, and larger kind of case studies looking into how a lot of them are just not operational at all. It does signal, even though the UK is a nuclear power, it does signal that that they're just talking wild. And I think if there ever was a time to not talk wild, if there ever was a time to be humble, to be respectful, to be calm, and let the egos kind of go here, it is now. And I think we should be striving towards doing everything we can to allow cooler heads to prevail, to propel this larger peace deal. If you agree, share this video. Thank you to our sponsor for working with us. Very timely that they just have, a stock that they wanted us to tell you about. Do your own due diligence. Do your own homework. Check them out. They're in the description. And we want to thank them for working with us and other independent media outlets that, of course, appreciate all the support that they could get. I love you guys. Stay tuned for now for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.